Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Sunny Makhija uh, and I'm a Senior Insight Sales Specialist at Crave Infotech. Today we are presenting on Mobilize Plant and Field Workforce using SAP Asset Manager, which will be presented by Rachel Romanowski and Shrikant Nestane. Now, Rachel is a part of Digital Asset Solution Management team, globally responsible for strategy, direction, go-to-market, and customer adoption across SAP maintenance and service solution portfolio. Rachel specializes in business processes across the entire asset life cycle with a focus on mobile, geospatial, and maintenance management solution. Industry experience includes oil and gas, chemical, and other asset intensive industries. And we have from Crave Infotech, Shrikant Nistane. He is a digital transformation enthusiast experienced in SAP Digital Core, Enterprise Asset Management, Enterprise Mobility, and Cloud Platform. He has 27 plus of industry experience helping organization in wide range experience with technology and technological changes for multiple line of business. And now without any further ado, I would hand over to Rachel to start the presentation. Over to you, Rachel.
Great. Thank you, Sunny. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. So thank you all for joining. As Sunny mentioned, my name is Rachel Romanowski. And the first part of today's session, we are going to cover over a couple topics. I do have a disclaimer up here up front because we will touch about a little bit of our roadmap topics around our asset manager solution. So just upfront disclaimer on planned innovations. I'll first start off talking a little bit around maintenance journey and optimization and some of the dynamics that surround that and market trends as it pertains to mobility. And, where we view empowering our workforce is critical to be able to ultimately drive that maintenance journey and optimization. And then I'll dive in a little bit around our asset manager solution itself and high-level overview and some of the latest innovations from our roadmap. And then the second half, I'm going to pass it over to Shrikant to discuss from Crave Infotech's perspective some of their experience out there with mobility within maintenance execution for your workforce. So without further ado, when I'm talking to our customers here at SAP, in the maintenance space, it's really around, how can we drive the most proactive optimization for their maintenance journey. So traditionally, we look at it in 4 different buckets. We have our historical way that we've looked at maintenance around either it's the break fix, reactive, and preventative, planned maintenance, time-based. And, as over the past, 10, 15 years, we've really pulled in condition-based maintenance, leveraging things like inspection rounds, measurement readings, and then tying in some sensor information to get more around, the condition of that asset to trigger off some of these traditional planned maintenance activities. And then ultimately, the goal would be how can we be even more prescriptive, leveraging additional technologies and moving towards a more predictive way that we approach our maintenance and how we approach, tackling undertaking our assets performance. And what's key around, whether you are addressing reactive emergency work, preventative, or even future machine learning and leveraging machine learning health, mobility is going to have a key play across, regardless where you are in that maintenance journey and optimization, and can help along the way as you move towards being more predictive and prescriptive. Just one of the key technology disruptors, if you will. While, we've had mobile devices probably in our personal lives, right, for 20 plus years, it's really taking a look at and how we apply it from a maintenance perspective is actually one of the areas that, if anything, has been overlooked quite often for some of these more advanced technologies, whether that's, how do we apply Internet of Things or big data that we're capturing from a manufacturing and production perspective, and then also apply it to really that machine health, or exposing that to our technicians to really understand and be able to be more proactive in understanding from a diagnostics or fault recognition perspective to really get down to the root cause of what might be actually going on when we have for example, unplanned downtime, or even leveraging additional technologies like AR or drones to be able to pull off information from remote inspections. So all of these technology disruptors are going to have an impact when it comes to maintenance. And as you adopt additional technologies, according to a latest study released out by McKinsey, is we're seeing up to 30% reduce in maintenance costs. When we're talking around asset-intensive industries, whether that's the oil and gas, whether it's chemicals, but even in our traditional discrete and consumer product manufacturing, it's very critical. Maintenance has a lot of overhead costs when we have advanced machinery that is reliant upon for production. And so being able to approach this, in the maintenance organization is very critical to be able to reduce some of those costs. And ultimately, what we wanted to achieve is machine uptime or reduce the downtime so that we can have more throughput from a production perspective. And so all of these technologies, whether in different ways, can help impact across that maintenance cost savings. And as I mentioned, mobility being a critical part of those technologies to be adopted, also has a critical part across the entire business process chain for maintenance. And how do we increase our effectiveness around, a desired outcome, first time fix rates, et cetera, by having the right information at their fingertips, and also efficiency, minimizing labor time, and, optimizing, spare parts usage. And so we also have a tie-in across or the ability to leverage, and is important to tie into these additional areas across the business supply chain, not just looking at it from solely the execution perspective, but being able to have a tie into, the condition monitoring or the IoT information, sensor information, machine learning health, being able to, provide visibility to maintenance schedulers on, where we are in the work process, all the way out to making sure that we're capturing the accurate data out in the field, so that when we bring that in full circle, we have reliable data to be able to make important decisions around maintenance strategy. And so ultimately, when we leverage mobility in the asset management space, we're not only streamlining and looking at a reduction from the maintenance technician and the execution themselves, but it has an impact across the entire, maintenance supply chain, if you will. And at SAP, we have our holistic, what we call our intelligent asset management portfolio suite of solutions that help drive forward this maintenance optimization journey for our customers, falling under the lines of asset performance management tools, whether that's predictive and machine learning, whether that's our core meat and potatoes at SAP around plant maintenance and execution, our operations aspect, planning, scheduling, and capturing costs, or even some of our more innovative areas where we're collaborating across internal and external stakeholders, leveraging things like our asset intelligence network. Our entire portfolio, mobility, has that through line. And so you can kind of see where we've wrapped around our holistic portfolio of where it's going to touch these different points. And ultimately, the importance around that is being able to make sure that we are enabling our workforce with the right information around whether that's the right spare parts list, the drawing and specifications, what operations and tasks they have to do, and how can they better do fault recognition out in the field at the port and performance. So when we think about empowering our workforce with mobility, traditional business process from a technician perspective on the mobile device, really around how can we streamline and create a simple way that we can interact across some of these traditional business processes, whether that's maintenance demand processing, the execution, the confirmation side, or even inventory management transactions. We want to be able to expose that and make it simple and easy to consume, while still being able to tie into different areas, whether that is taking advantage of some of the trends that we see within mobility, whether that's, being able to leverage and tie into these adjacent innovations to drive some of these efficiency gains. And when I say adjacent innovations, not just talking maybe around the IoT or sensor, the machine learning health. I'm also taking advantage of device peripherals, cameras, GPS location, geospatial, GIS information data. How can we all tie that in from a mobile perspective to have that in one centralized area for a technician to interact with? Being able to then ultimately achieve quantifiable business value across different silos. So the people, your processes, your asset, and the data, ultimately that's the key source of, leveraging mobility, being able to have that single source of truth at your fingertips. And then, as we start to talk about some of the, more recent impacts that we see and how mobility has a play in there around driving resilient operations in the current environment that we're in, and, even in the foreseeable future, when we might have capacity restraints or social distancing guidelines, how can mobility make sure that a technician can go and execute their work out in the field seamlessly without having to impact, and all while ensuring that we're meeting industry standards, whether that's ISO 55000, et cetera, and then while keeping our technicians safe. And so the way that we look at mobility here at SAP and, with our partners in this space, it's really ultimately empowering the end user, empowering the people for their role. And so when we look at a maintenance technician or field service engineer, making sure that they're able to execute their work safely. They have intuitive information to make appropriate decisions moving forward, and have full visibility kind of across, the work history or equipment information, instructions, et cetera, for them to be able to do their job appropriately. And so from a mobile perspective, it's all around managing that work and asset data, whether you're online, offline, or occasionally connected. Oftentimes, we don't really control where these equipments are completely located in remote locations. And we want to be able to enable capturing and integrate that information at the point of performance, the point of execution, where these technicians are actually doing the work, because ultimately that will down the road have an impact in data reliability and being able to drive proactive work towards unforeseen events, to be able to execute any of these complex tasks more efficiently. And so really the persona, the mobile technician or this technician field engineer is really at the center of all things that we do within mobility in the asset management space. And so with that, we'll tie in a little bit around the solution itself before I pass it over to Shrikant here. And that's really where our next generation mobile solution, SAP Asset Manager, comes into play. At SAP, we've been in the mobile space for probably 20 some odd years. We've have a lot of experience in this area, and taking what we've learned, what we've gathered, and then leveraging next generation platforms to be able to take mobility for maintenance execution into the next generation. And so what SAP Asset Manager brings to the table, still the tried and true, the end-to-end asset management on the go, whether you're online or offline, for those remote activities. So, ultimately mobilizing that entire maintenance execution and demand processing, accessing that from your smart device, as well as being able to leverage and take advantage of an enterprise-grade application where it has robust, complex business processes behind it, and provide a consumer-grade user experience that we're all used to in our day-to-day personal lives. Taking advantage of, the native device features, whether that's the camera or simple things like authentication, Touch ID, the location services, but also, standardizing a coherent look and feel across our SAP solutions, leveraging design languages specifically for these devices, taking advantage and having those design principles for a native mobile application. We've also taken into consideration on, not only addressing the standard work execution process, but building pre-built components that are available with Asset Manager for a customer, for you to pick and choose based on your industry or persona use case, to add on and really enhance asset management ourselves. And this is also an area where we're working with our partners, like Crave Infotech, to even build out this portfolio of component add-ons even further, whether that's around utilities and meter management, customer service, or more on a calibration perspective, or life sciences with quality management, and how we can expand, our standard work execution for a technician, depending on what those business processes are. I mentioned, we're taking Asset Manager into that next generation of technology. We leverage our SAP Mobile Services platform in the cloud, and a mobile development kit that's metadata driven, to be able to allow for full customization framework, to be able to edit, change business logic, the screens, be able to brand according to what you need your individual company, as well as being able to apply these changes cross-platform deployments. And so Asset Manager really is also meant to be a toolkit for you to build upon based on your specific needs. And then lastly, it is a cloud-based deployment. There are more or less leveraging our cloud platform as a service, if you will, our mobile services, and then still being able to integrate with your on-premise ERP solutions, whether that's S/4HANA or ECC. And, from a feature functionality perspective, I mentioned, we looked at, where this really impacts our technicians. So first and foremost, around demand processing, being able to take maintenance notifications and requests, change, confirm, add items, failure codes, modes, causes, and damages, breakdown information, etc. Importance by, capturing this. These have important impacts into analytics downstream, right? Being able to capture, this is a breakdown, when's the malfunction and start date, that's going to have an impact to your mean time to repair, your mean time between failure, analytics around your equipment. From a work execution, that's really the crux of this, being able to change your work order, capture labor time, materials, and costs, doing inventory movements but also making sure that we're capturing, any kind of approval steps, signature information, being able to simplify and capture inspection rounds, meter readings that are also going to have an impact into when maintenance work actually needs to be done against assets. And then ultimately, exposing from a master data perspective or work history perspective, all of the details behind equipment and functional locations, your technical objects that a technician might need to have, applying things like, embedded analytics to be able to have a visual conception directly from that mobile device, but also have insight into warranty information, bill of materials, the hierarchy, being able to search and control that, doing installs and dismantles on the equipment and view historical information, and then also, edit characteristics of those technical objects, how oftentimes that we're out in the field or in front of the asset itself and realize that there's actually, maybe incorrect information. What better persona or person suited to help fix or remedy that than those that are actually doing the work themselves. And then ultimately, the crux behind all of this is really the usability. So leveraging a mobile device, having a simple user experience, leveraging our design principles with Fiori and applying those to an iOS and Android design language, and ultimately allowing that online-offline data capture. So a technician does not have to be disrupted if they do not have connectivity or there's a slow connection or waiting for the next field to load. Leveraging an offline mobility first principle allows efficient data capture while they're doing their work, et cetera. And so we also have tie-ins to geospatial capabilities, integration into Esri, GIS information, and our geo-enablement framework. And then, making sure that we have the right information. Oftentimes our customers, are leveraging document management systems to store work instructions, et cetera, making sure that we're pulling in support for that, not only SAP DMS, but also third parties such as an OpenText, SharePoint, et cetera, to be able to pull that data into and expose that via the mobile device. And so usability is that underlying through line when we talk about Asset Manager itself. I also talked, upfront around this industry or persona component-based approach. We have under your project with Asset Manager, you can pick and choose which components you want to deploy on top of the base functionality, depending on your use cases. And so we have quite a few here, one around the field operations worker that ties into routing and stop capabilities, meter management that also adds functionalities around the ISU component within SAP, crew management if you're managing a crew, capturing labor time and vehicle information accordingly, and timesheets there, quality management around a great time. This is one of our latest components that we released at the end of last year. This has a critical tie-in to calibration processes and being able to process an inspection lot and capture results against inspections directly from embedded within Asset Manager. And then also tie-ins to our additional intelligent asset solutions, whether that's our predictive asset insights or asset strategy performance management, exposing indicator information, machine health information, as well as we're also shifting and adding additional persona components. The first one, which will be coming out later in our 2105 release, that is our supervisor persona. So now a supervisor can come in and approve work if there's approval workflows that need to happen before work gets closed out, access that directly from the mobile device, maybe do ad hoc reassignments as well, and sign-offs. We have a supervisor persona that will be coming out in our 2105 release. So ultimately, before I pass this over, Asset Manager is really at that crux of across that through line across the maintenance digital process chain. And ultimately, we want to drive operational excellence and enabling the technicians, whether that's being able to simplify the user experience and simplify the business process flows that they need to capture and actually capture that data at that point of performance. And then ultimately, drive this digital transformation forward, not only from, leveraging these digital technologies, but then also how that impacts, whether that's around improved training, being able to drive first-time fix rates of critical assets, et cetera, all leveraging our mobile execution. And the last thing I'll talk about here is from a roadmap perspective, some of our key things that are coming forward. So we do have an interactive roadmap. I do recommend that you take a look out here. We have a link directly to it where you'll see details in which quarter that this release will be available. But one of the key things that is coming forward is actually Windows support. So previous to this, we only had iOS and Android support for Asset Manager, and we do plan on driving Windows support for Windows 10 devices that will be coming out in 2022. And so I know that's very critical and something that our customers have been asking for Asset Manager. And so I can now announce that we have committed to that delivery. Development is underway. And so excited for that new enhancement to come forward and to build out our cross-deployment portfolio. I mentioned that supervisor role that is coming out in our latest release, as well as being able to support multi-user device support. So being able to share devices, having technicians log in, log out from the app itself to be able to capture their work. So in a shared device environment, that's really critical. And then keep in mind on some of our additional features and functions that will be coming out, whether that's around generating new asset information out in the field or applying things such as digital signature support for, compliance purposes like 21 CFR Part 11 for life sciences, pharmaceutical industries. And so wanted to point that out, that we do have Windows support coming moving forward, and take a look at and stay up to date with our latest roadmap. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, Shrikant, from the Crave Info Tech perspective.
Thank you, Rachel. That was great. Sunny, would you like to do the polling?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing your experience and thoughts. And now I would be like to launch a few poll questions, and I would request our attendees as well to just give us only 30 seconds so that they can go through the poll questions, and then Shrikant can take over from here. It will not take more than 30 seconds. Shrikant, I think you can just go ahead and I'll just leave the poll open so that whenever they have, they can just go through the poll questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I will have to share my screen.
Yes.
So let
Yes.
me share my screen. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through standard uh, asset manager demo app. And let me share my screen. So it's coming. Yes, it's there. Okay. So this is how the standard asset manager demo app looks like. So this is called overview page. Some people also call it landing page. So on the top, there is a map. Of course, we can go from here to see the details on the map. That's very cool function. Right? I can see the details of each of these uh, map objects. I can view notification, create notification because I selected specific asset. That's one functionality. Which is very helpful and important for larger geographic area of field service, right? People out in the field. The next part is if you have routes, if you are using routes, there is a route functionality also there. Uh, then you can see the high priority orders. So anything which is priority 1 and 2 by default is considered to be high priority, and they will be listed into this section also, so that people know what they need to work. Of course, this is again based upon your process. And typically, we have also hidden these sections depends upon the business case. Very simple enhancement. It's just basically modifying couple line of code, and you can take them off. We have a customer right now, they don't use map. They are in a plant environment, so we have hidden the map, which is possible. The next is the timesheet. You can basically look at current and up to 14 days of timesheet. And also you can add timesheet if needed from here. Finally, and the most important is all of your transactions and data. So you have orders. So in this case, I have 47 orders, 16 notifications. I have 130 equipments. There are 3 reminders. Functional location, there are 37. Of course, this is all depends upon how we configure the asset manager. I can download all the equipments, or I can only say download the equipments which are attached to my orders and notification. I can configure that, or I can put a lot of filters based upon equipment category, equipment type, statuses, inclusive, exclusive, and just get the subset what I needed. The same applies for functional location, equipment, and some other master data. So there is very nice configurable filtration capability available in the SAP Asset Manager configuration deck. Let's go into the orders. So another thing is you can also configure it to work on the operation level or work order level. So when I say work order level means you will still be able to work on the operation. You will be able to still able to complete, but the workflow will be different. So here in this case, it's at the header level assignment. So there are many level of assignments available for downloading, and key are header level assignment, operation level assignment, header level work center assignment, operation level work center assignment. The first two, when I talk, those are the personal numbers. Then there is a capacity assignment, which is the, and also there is a new available for the MRS assignment. And you can also customize and create the assignment based upon your need. And there are several personal ID, PID parameters can be assigned in the user profile, and those also can be controlled. So pretty flexible actually. So going into the work order, this is how I can see the list of work orders. This is where I have different filters and sort criteria available. I can sort by priority, description, due date, order ID. I can filter by all these criteria, statuses, and so forth. I can also create new work order right from here. I can define which work order type should be my default. So people don't have to select. Plant can come from my default assignments. I can search equipments by description. It's a fuzzy search. So let me see if there is a form. There is a form. And business area, the work center comes as a default. I can add notes, can add description. I'm just demonstrating how to create a new work order. Right? And next, it will ask me about the first operation or multiple operations. So this is operation. Control key. Again, I can default. I'm going to pick plant maintenance internal. And then here we go. I'm ready to get. So order is created. Now this order gets locally. So I can see here, I can filter by sorry. Typically it should come. It will say local into the description so that I can. We are also typically customers look for different. There are five fields available into the list, and I can pick and choose them, and I can make some modifications if needed. So that's about the order. I go inside the work order. I can see the location details, number of operations, what equipment, functional location, if there is a notification, if there are parts. And this is where I can start the future processes from here. So I can look at the operation. This will give me all the operation details if there are any sub operations. There are nodes in PRT. There are 3 PRT. There is a part. So I can basically, I can do part issue or part. So I'm actually adding new part. I can also add new parts, or I can issue part. So here, these are the part details. I can basically issue part or add node. And I can also return parts. So at the end of the order, if there are any parts left, I can also return them. Looking at the time we have, I will probably skip some of these steps. I just wanted to give you a glimpse of this. Similarly, we have notifications. A lot of customers decide just to download the notifications which are connected to the work order, but you can have notification processing also separately, and then notifications also can be processed. From the notification, I can create work order. I can add catalog codes. Yeah, I can add catalog codes, which is item, task, activity, add notes, add reminder. I can also enter the measuring points if they are available. Let me see if I have anything. It doesn't have. Yeah, here we go. Very nice. So measuring points will be displayed graphically. Of course, because the real estate, you will see 3, and then you have additional data. And I can enter, take the reading, and I can create the reading, measurement reading for that. The good news is the layout is structured in such a way, or the user interface, it will work on the mobile, it will work on the tablet, both of them, no issues. So that's how the asset manager key functionalities. Again, you can go from equipment. You can install and uninstall equipment. That functionality is available from the equipment itself. And again, measuring points will appear here. I can take the measurement readings from here also if needed. Same for the functional location. I can install, uninstall. That function is available out of the box. Did I miss anything? Rachel, would you like to add anything before I finish the demo?
No, I think that's great. I think, highlighted some of the usability aspects, and, I think from an end user, right, being able to either leverage geospatial information, have context, being able to have some of the analytics from the measurement points at their fingertips, and be able to execute and capture that pretty simply. I think you hit it all.
Right. Excellent. So I'm going to stop this and I'll go to the presentation. Let's talk about a little bit about what we have done and how we can help. Let me get my another screen share. So here, okay. So we call it intelligent asset management maturity model. Sorry about that. The mouse is pretty sensitive. So this is basically reactive to predictive journey, and as we have seen and working with several customers, we have seen every one of them is at different stages of this journey. So of course, reactive is basically we wait until the system fails. Although we have SAP or ERP available or not, that doesn't matter. It depends upon how we act. Then if you are performing maintenance at a regular interval, that's basically preventive. Continuously observing the status of assets and react to that's condition based. And finally is the predictive. That's where the maturity curve is right now. So we have created a 39 questions, which will allow us, once you answer those, allows us to identify where you are on the maturity journey. You might be in between reactive and preventive, or maybe preventive and condition. May not be exactly at that, but helps us to help you identifying where you are, and then we can create a journey map for you. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So this is where basically how journey starts. So first we want to capture equipment master, BOM, order processing, calibration, right? And all of that, that's why we go to the ERP. That's where the SAP comes in picture. Once we have that in place, we want to start acquiring the data. So there are many ways. Currently, we do it on, a lot of people do it on paper, and then they come back, enter into SAP, and we all know what the challenge is, right? Paper get misplaced and so many things. So that's where the mobility comes into picture. Field mobility, offline capabilities, and that's where the asset manager comes into picture. Asset manager has several flavors, right? Calibration, facility, rounds manager. In addition to that, if you have enabled your assets with ability to interact with the backend system. Now, this IoT is a pretty broad term, and IoT can be as simple as acquiring data from SCADA, or it can be as elaborated as getting the information from locally empowered edge instruments and equipments, so that we get specific information that helps us to make right decisions. So that's IoT. And the third part is the collaboration for better information, like SAP's Asset Intelligence Network. So Asset Central Foundation, Asset Intelligence Network, they help to collaborate between several organizations. So that's where we come to the data acquisition side. Once we have acquired the data, we have an ability to start analyzing that data. And that's where comes the RCM, reliability-centered maintenance, failure mode analysis, risk-based analysis, and root cause analysis. All of these can be achieved through SAP's Performance and Risk Strategy Management, that is ASPM, Asset Performance and Strategy Management. Once we have that, we can use that data, the good data, to do the failure mode analysis, fingerprint management, indicator forecasting using the SAP's predictive analytics. And finally, they both gives us what corrective actions we need to do. So that's incorrect data entry, measurement outside the readings, and that's where comes the recommendations, and those all corrective actions come back to the mobile. So this is kind of a complete end-to-end journey. We help you to identify where you are and find out which is the right tool for you at the right time. Because if you are only on ERP and you want to go to predictive, is a very highly unlikely that it will succeed immediately, because for predictive to function effectively, you need to have a good data, good historical information, and these different steps are absolutely necessary for success. So with that, I would like to map. So we are talking about asset manager, but I'm painting a larger picture where asset management is one of the components. So when Crave Infotech comes into picture, we can help you for end-to-end. So scheduling, dispatch, tracking and map-based dispatch, planning workbench, approvals, and then the mobile applications. And we stitch together different solutions available. So MRSs for scheduling and dispatching. This is our addition or extensions, planning workbench, approvals, and the vehicle tracking, which is also available on cloud platform. We're using SAP cloud platform technology, and then asset manager calibration, CFSM. So these are different applications we work with. Now, just to summarize that, so we are SAP, of course, we implement SAP plant maintenance, customer service, also for ISU work management, which is slightly different with the flavor of device management, and then also integrating with. We have also experience and working with SAP Work Manager and of course Asset Manager. Then comes the intelligent asset management stack, Asset Central Foundation, AIN, predictive and maintenance, and finally, if you are on SMP, so that's local SAP mobile platform, which is going out of service. Actually, it is out of service as of last year, unless it is extended. And you need to move to the SAP mobile service migration. We can help you. We have mapped all those different mobile service migration scenarios, and we can help you and make your life easier. In addition to that, we have our prepackaged extensions for calibration, especially for life sciences industry, planning workbench, work clearance management, and connected assets and IoT, which is basically vehicle tracking for field services. And in addition to that, we also help you with the barcode and RFID enablement. We are also Zebra partner, and we also partner with a few other hardware companies, whereby we bring in end-to-end solution for you, which can include RFID and barcode enablement, hardware, that means mobile computing devices, and also the software solution. Just a glimpse of our vehicle tracking solution. This is a slide is here about the intelligent asset management. You can refer that. Of course, we can, if you want to talk, we can discuss. Now, coming to what we have done is just to make it simple, because it's always difficult to get our arms around what's the scope and how much is the cost. So we have created some amplify packages. So it's called SAP amplify packages, where we have defined certain amount of scope and what might be the cost. So it's by region. We have defined the scope, and this is for implementing plant maintenance, implementing asset manager, and if you want to do plant maintenance and asset management together. So there is a specific scope. We can discuss that. If you have any specific needs, please reach out to us, and we can talk about your specific need and how we can get you up and running and going in a very short period of time with a specific scope and the budget in mind, and we can commit to that. Finally, a little bit about Crave. So we are passionate about combining 5 things. One is the SAP Intelligent Enterprise, which is of course ECC or S4, cloud platform, prepackaged solutions, which we talked about some of them, Zebra mobile computing technology, and geo enablement for different areas, which includes warehouse management, asset management, and supply chain. 13-year-old company. We have 3 partnerships with SAP, sell, build, and service, all 3. And then we are also a premier partner with Zebra and also reseller, and same with the HERE technology. Located in New Jersey, headquarters, global presence, global customer base. This is a list of some of our customers: utilities, oil and gas, life sciences, then companies like Siemens, Comscope, manufacturing, chemical, and public sector and healthcare. That's a list of all different customers. Just few things. I'm gonna go through that. Finally, so you can bring us your transformation challenges. We have free, no obligation assessment to see where you are on the maturity curve for the asset management. This is how I look like. This is our toll-free number, email address. Sunny, feel free to drop your email address so that people can reach. Sunny is our inside sales lead, and he manages the communication with the team. We'll open up with that. We'll open up for any questions, comments you might have. I don't see any questions here, but Rachel, do you have anything to add?
No, thanks. Thanks, Shrikant. I think thanks for supporting, and also, if you have any other questions, you feel free to reach out to me. I'll put in my email in the chat as well for any questions around asset manager and mobility.
So one thing I like to hear today is that we are going to have Windows version. It's very important. You're right. A lot of customers are looking for it. They want to use what they have and keep minimize the change management for their existing workforce.
Yes, absolutely. I think that was one of our critical reasons of going forward, especially for, field engineers or field technicians that might also need to be leveraging, additional tools that are only Windows based, right? And so we want to make sure that, they don't have to necessarily go cross device. So that was critical for us. And I'm really excited that we'll be bringing that here shortly for customers to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think that's a great decision. So with that, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys joining. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate you co-hosting with us and giving insight about what's happening in asset management and what's coming in. And if anybody has any question, reach out to Rachel or us, and we'll be happy to answer those and make sure you have everything you needed for asset manager.
Great. Thank you so much, all.